Welcome to the Close the Chapter podcast. I am Kristen Boyce, a licensed marriage and family therapist with a private practice, Pathways to Healing Counseling. Through conversations, education, strategies, and shared stories, we will be closing the chapter on all the thoughts, feelings, people, and circumstances that don't serve you anymore and open the door to possibilities and the real you. You won't want to miss an episode, so be sure to subscribe. Welcome to this week's Close the Chapter podcast. I am so glad you're here with me. It's hard to believe we are already midway through the first month of the new year. And I just want to say I am so proud that you are where you are, no matter where it is, that it's okay to be messy right now. And I don't even like that word messy, but it's okay to not have it all together. And the fact that you're on this growth journey speaks volumes about you. So I'm excited you're here today as we're talking about communication and speaking with the heart, like speaking and communicating in a loving, kind way. And I have a repeat guest today that is back with us and going to talk about her new book, Speaking with the Heart. Dr. Heather Browne, LMFT, which is a licensed marriage and family therapist, which is what I am, helps people recognize the power of communication. It is one of the most important skills that we have, and yet we don't consider our understanding, approach, belief, and therefore miss our possibilities. Living with a paranoid schizophrenic mother gave Dr. Heather a unique and powerful awareness that no one has the same reality, though we believe we do. Utilizing this revolutionary awareness has allowed her to transform communication within self and within all other types of relationships. This is the hidden key to acceptance. And this is her mission to share. As a relationship expert, she has worked with thousands of individuals and couples in psychotherapy. She is a TEDx speaker, and her couples communication book, which is going to be released hopefully January 24th. And she's been published in hundreds of other publications. So we're excited to have her on the podcast to talk about her book. And we get deep. We talk about love and what is love and how do we access more of it, and communication and faith and all kinds of stuff. So we kind of deconstruct some big ideas. And if you want to catch the first interview I did with her, you can go back and listen to episode 172. Unmasking Who You Really Are. Highly recommend that episode. If you even want to listen to that episode first and then listen to this episode, you can do that. We'll link it in the show notes. Without further ado, here is my deep conversation with Dr. Heather Browne. Welcome to this week's Close the Chapter podcast. It is with great honor and pleasure to have a repeat guest, Dr. Heather Browne, back with us. If you didn't listen to our first episode back in August of 2022, I cannot believe it's been that long. We talked about unmasking our true selves. Like, how do we kind of be our true selves? And I'm so excited to talk about her new book, Speaking with the Heart. Yay! Congratulations. Welcome back. Author, going to be best-selling, New York Times best-selling author. Wouldn't that be great? Yeah. That would be so exciting.
You never know. As long as I love people really well, it'll happen.
Bingo. That is so beautifully said. So tell me about the inspiration for your book.
Well, as a therapist, you know that you've got all these nuggets and you know you have all these places that help people so deeply. And I've been doing this for 27 years. And so after having had thousands upon thousands upon thousands of sessions, it just became clear that there's some really important truths that we don't know about communication with ourselves, with our partner, with the world. And I'll talk about it in pretty much every first session. And after a while, I thought, gosh, I should share this. And then the couples I work with have been saying for years, like, I want your book so we can go back and refer to the exercise. We can go back and refer to the prayer. We can go back and refer to the homework. And so during COVID, I finally thought, it's just time. So it was time for me to share what I've learned and offered for 27 years with people who I don't get the opportunity to see one-on-one. And so I'm really excited about that.
Congratulations. I know putting together a book is a labor of love.
Yes. It makes a long time.
It does. People don't realize how long it takes to write it, to publish it, to market it. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. So let's hit these truths that you referred to, because I think people are like, okay, what kind of truths are you talking about? So let's go through some of the truths that you want people to know about.
Well, I think the biggest one is that every single thing that goes on in this world, every conversation that we have can be improved if we add love. And that's why I call it speaking with the heart, not from the heart. Not here's a little truth from my heart that I'm going to share with you, but with bringing the energy of love forward in everything. Because whether somebody's angry, whether someone's frustrated, whether someone's resentful, whether someone's scared, whether someone's confused, whether someone's attacking, there needs to be more love somewhere in that whole scheme. And so since God is love, and that is his most important commandment to us, my thought was, well, let me bring a book that really speaks into that and speaks through that and then shows people how to do that. We so oftentimes in life will say, well, just speak with love or do it with love. We're like, yeah, of course, but we're not. And so there's something within us that doesn't know how to do it. And so instead of just telling someone how to be, my thought was, well, let me show them. And that's the reason why Postal Press picked it up. They said, we've never seen a book like this before, because I'll give an exercise and then I'll say, okay, so now let's talk about what happened. And then we go through the different feelings, expressions, awarenesses that have come up for the individual as much as I can in book format. But the big picture idea of it was I wanted to bless the world. I wanted to bless people with recognizing they can love themselves, they can love the other, they can love a conversation. And if you choose to bring that energy in, it is going to go better, at least for you. And you will feel better, more centered, more congruent with yourself. And so that's the big picture premise of it. And then I do it in all the important ways in a relationship. So I cover attachment styles and love languages and how do you even step into a conversation? What are the most important questions to ask? What's important in good communication? Giving and taking, anxiety, anger, fighting, money, sex, intimacy, family, holidays, budget, money, all of it. I just cover all the components that you touch upon if you're blessed to be in a relationship with somebody for a really long time. And I feel all of it's done through love. And then an interesting component of it is I've written it as a widow. And that's a beautiful thing when you're writing a couples book, because I'll say, go grab that hand that's next to yours, because I miss not doing that. And I'm careful to not be like, oh, feel sorry for Heather. That's not the point of the book. But there is a point to recognize what you do have and to really treasure it, to really nurture it, to really be grateful and to honor it and to look at your partner as best you can as your beloved. And so I offer lots of beautiful exercises to do that, to really cherish who you are, your partner, and what you have together, and to nurture it in some really fun ways to help it grow.
I love that, because we do take for granted, I think oftentimes, what's in front of us, because we're too mired in maybe our own stuff, our own past, our own pain. How do you help people get through resentments? Because I feel like it sounds easy to go just love more, because I'm with you. Like, that is my vision for life, is love more. What I find is people have blocks to accessing. Like you said, they don't know how because it wasn't shown to them. So how do you help people work through the blocks and resentment to access love?
Well, and some of these areas, and I share this, people might need an individual session with a therapist to take them further. Because in a book, you can't do all the little idiosyncrasies that therapy is amazing for. But some of the components with resentment is to ask yourself, how is it serving you? If you want to stay resentful, you can stay resentful. But then you have to ask yourself, well, how am I feeling? Because what you did to me that hurt so badly, now I'm going to stay in a place where I'm just going to stay in hurt. And you can choose that. But if you're not going to move to a place of either freeing yourself of that or freeing your viewpoint of your partner on that, your relationship is not going to thrive. And so there's some looking at that. If someone has infidelity, I'll tell a couple, you both need to be willing, but also you both need to be able. Sometimes the person who's been cheated on is not. And I tell them, if you don't move to a place where you're willing to receive your partner, even though they did do this, then you might need to be done because they did do this. So there is a place to really help the individual move into the current moment. Yes, and they hurt you deeply. And is there anything that you need from them to care about your hurt? If you're in resentment, you're not really wanting them truly to care about your hurt yet. You're angry, you're mad, you're frustrated that they hurt you. But there's a shift that needs to happen if you're going to move out of that, which is to let yourself receive. And until you're ready to receive, you're not going to. There's a whole chapter on giving and receiving. We think we're good at it, and I think we're all pretty not. I think we have a hard time. Most of us, I think, have a hard time truly receiving. And so I walk couples through how can you receive more and more. And there also is the place of asking in resentment, am I getting now what I want? I didn't get it then. What would I want now? And you'll have more clarity. It might not be to stay in the relationship. It might be that you really want to be loved more dearly, but an injury opens up a possibility, if you both are willing, to do something very differently going forward. We grow from our hurt. We grow from our brokenness if we allow it. And that's the key to redemption. That's the grace of God. That is the beauty of our brokenness as a human. It was through the nails that Jesus was held up, but it was also through the nails that we pinned him to the cross. So there's always that double place. And that's the beautiful moment of God giving us the choice of will in a moment. What do I do with this? So if you're in a place of resentment, I would ask yourself, is this serving me? Is this blessing me? Is this bringing me closer to God? Do I feel Christ-like in this? Do I even care? Because you might just say, I'm just going to totally be human right now and just be angry and mad, and I'm going to stay here for a long time. Do it. Do it if that's what you choose to do. At some point, it's not going to feel like that's what you want. And that's when you've got the ability to start to shift and to start to actually receive in some ways that you need because of where you were hurt. And probably a lot of clarity of where do we move forward so this doesn't happen again. Or how do I better take care of myself in case you remain unable to change this?
Yeah, because I always ask couples, like on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being what I'll stay in this, whatever it takes, 0, I'm out the door. Yeah, it's kind of like assessing how willing are you to really take a look within at your own stuff. Because we have one finger pointing at the other person and 3 fingers pointing back to ourselves. Like, are you willing to do that? And if your hurt is so big that you've built all these defenses up to protect yourself, are you willing to look at that? So when we teach people how to love, okay, how do you teach people how to love? Like, what are some of the things you start with?
Themselves. What are the thoughts that are going on in your head? Those thoughts that you haven't, this is what I tell people, and myself. Is that something you would hear Jesus say? Is that something that sounds like it comes from God? And a lot of times we'll be like, no. I'm like, well, then how do I change my thought process to care for myself better? Every morning I thank God that I'm alive. And I thank God that He's given me this opportunity to have this day. And I recognize that He has given it to me for me to use it in the very best way possible. Can't change any of the choices that I've made from the past, but I can decide how I engage today. And I can keep changing that moment by moment by moment if I realize I'm not really in alignment or not under His discernment. And so there's the place of how committed to that are you? And He knows we're going to fall away and be selfish and be lazy and watch Netflix and eat popcorn and not do the things we're supposed to do from time to time, but that's also part of the human experience. There's these wonderful, wonderful indulgences that we get to experience at times too. So it's finding that balance for yourself. But start with you. How do you look at your life? How do you treat you? Are you really taking care of you? There's this saying that to be able to love somebody else, you have to love yourself first. I absolutely thought that was a lie. I absolutely did. And I thought, no, Heather, you love people amazingly well. Like, you don't really love yourself, but like, you know, nobody does. And the more I have allowed my heart to be grateful that I have this life, that I just am this person, not that I'm great, not that I'm amazing. No, just that this was given to me. This is who I am. I am so much better at loving other people because like I accept myself. So if you come to me and you say, oh, Heather, I'm so sorry. I messed up. I forgot about I'm probably going to say, shoot, okay, well, yeah, I do that too. When you accept yourself, you're no longer in much resistance with somebody else. And then you really get to the place of, well, how can I help you in this now? What do we do together? Loving yourself turns you very much into a we very quickly. And I know that's the reason for it. That's the reason for the union with Christ, to turn us into a we. And our focus is to be a we-ness. Always walk with Christ. He's in your heart, following what it is that God calls for you to do. We are to stay in a place of we-ness. Now, if you go here, a place of we-ness, if it's of God and Christ, it is full of love. I had an awareness sometime last year, and I remember thinking, separation is a lie that I have told myself. There is no separation. There's no separation. I am of God, born onto the world, his daughter. I'm always with God. So I had this huge awareness, and then I went, wow, that's wild. Because so much of my life I have felt alone and I have felt sad. And so I was thinking about that, and then I started to feel blue. Like, oh my gosh, I'm like, I was 25. It was so dark and it was so hard. And I have a very, very lovely connection with Mother Mary. And she tapped me on my head and she goes, hold on, honey. You just realized there's no separation. And yet you're choosing to go here. And I went, yeah. She said, why? And it was so hard for me to accept. But I said, because I want to feel sorry for myself. And she said, really? And I said, yeah. She said, okay. So I felt sorry for myself for a couple of minutes, and then I went, ew, no, I want to be with God. I want to be of God. I want to feel God. So if you're anybody, because we can always grow in more love, if you start your day in that place, thank you. Let me feel your love. Let me be full of your love. Let me be aware I come from your love, and let that fill me up and come through me and channel through me and touch the world and bless the world. Then you're going to be vibing all day long. There is no limitation to love. There's just a limitation that we put upon it. And so when we decide, oh no, like it's all around me, it's in me, it's through me, then we can bring it forth so much more easily. And when you have resistance that comes your way, you can recognize that and hold yourself in a place of love and shed love upon them, and just keep that place of not losing your connectedness when they are in a place of separation. God did it so beautifully. He really did it so beautifully. He puts us in the place of saying, you choose, and they're very different. And it's up to you, and do whatever it is that you desire to do. So we can play with it and then see. But when we pull ourselves into a place of not letting ourselves connect with whose we are, gosh, it feels so shallow and different. So start there. Start with what is most important, which is with your connection with God and why you are here on this earth. And when you really do that deeply, it goes better. It just does. And it feels so much better because you feel held, you feel loved, you feel cared for.
What would you say to folks that have had religious trauma? Because there's a lot of people that I've worked with that have had religious trauma. They don't see God as loving. Like if we're using this truth and this isn't resonating with some people, they're like, I don't even believe in God. I have been manipulated and controlled, and this has been a hell and damnation, and I don't feel lots of religious trauma. Someone access love when they don't see God that way.
Beautifully. So what I would say to them is, so you have loved yourself dearly through some horrific experiences. Let's take a moment and honor that. You removed yourself from something that was destructive and damaging and hurtful for you. That is of love. So let's focus on that energy within you, that knowledge within you, that discernment within you that wants to care for you, that wants to protect you, that is holding you right now. It can be their inner being. It can be God. It can be Mother Mary. It can be Mother Earth. It can be collective unconscious. It could be Christ energy. It's love. I mean, do we need to have a name upon it? We choose too often, but do we? That part of you that wants so much for you to feel cared for you to feel protected, for you to feel valued, for you to feel beautiful, for you to feel present, for you to feel oneness and alignment with all that is love. That is glory. That is creation. And so the label, the name, really, to me, doesn't matter. Is it truly of love? I will use the word God, but that doesn't mean that others will at all. But I would go back to that part of you that wants the best of you. Maybe it's a really small voice, but every time you said no, every single time you said that hurts, that part of you was resonating. This is not what I want. that's the part that I would speak to and say, let's connect there. Let's connect with your inner mother, your inner father, your inner true self, your inner divine awareness of you. Who is you when you are your most glorious?
Yeah, I really like that, because I think a lot of people have experienced this in the name of God, in the name of love, and
Yes.
abused as a result. And so it's gotten very conflictual and scary. And
And people have been horrifically abused.
horrifically in the name of God, in the name of love, quote unquote.
I have a very close relationship with Mother Mary, and I've had some people reach out to me concerned and worried. Like, what is that? The mother of Jesus? Like, I don't know. I don't think this really could be a more holy woman ever than that. However, I also need to be very respectful, because some fear within them is coming up with what resonates with me. And that would be something that I would talk to people about in depth who have gone through that somehow some fear was brought up in the person who was so abusive, who was so destructive. And the only thing that they need to do was to extinguish. I had somebody the other day talk to me about love, and they were wanting it defined. And I said something that I thought it went to an interesting place, because he's like, well, put it into words. And I said, well, I guess this is my best. Is love inclusive or exclusive? And he said, oh, inclusive. And I said, then I think that's probably all we need. And when you sit with that, I don't know about you, but for me, it kind of goes, oh, there's some places where I'm not good at that. And we are all God's children. We are all here. Even if you want to move away from the word of God.
Let's say that's triggering for someone and they don't want that way.
8 billion people on this planet. 8 billion. We are each here. I am not more important than you. I am not less important than you. But I am here. That's significant. Even if you want to say it was an accident, it was a big boom, it was a whatever, I'm still here. Probably for 90 years of me. That's a long time. So what is it that you do with that? And then more so for the individual, how do you want to experience that life? This is your life. This is this gift, whether it was supremely designed or whether it was just oops, you're here. So what do you do with that? How do you enjoy it? Do you enjoy it? You don't have to have massive accolades or big plans, but do you enjoy being you? Do you enjoy the life that you have? Are you taking really good care of you? Are you letting yourself grow and play and experience and delight? No matter what we've been given in our experience of life, who we're born into, intelligence that we have, physical components, what have you, this is what you got. So what are you going to do with it? And the place that I think we wrestle a lot is this doesn't feel fair, which there's no such thing. There's no such thing as fairness in life. I am so blessed compared to so many people. I live in America. Dear Lord. And my brain works really well. I'm so blessed. You can't compare me to somebody who's been born in sex trafficking or drug addiction. So there's the place of really saying, since this is my life, how do I take the very best care of me? And in all these places where I have been hurt or wrong, what choices do I make for myself now? As a child, we don't have the ability to protect ourselves. We don't, and that's scary. As an adult, a whole lot more so. Are there some situations where we completely can't? Yeah, those are rare. Most situations, we can do something to take care of ourselves and protect ourselves. So, I would ask people, how much are you doing of that for you? In your thoughts, with your feelings, with your words, with your actions, with your determinations. Yeah.
It's deep. It's complex.
Yeah.
When you have trauma, you have family history of that, you're learning a whole new way to feel safe in the world and experience the world. So when we say love and they get into a marriage and they're like, oh, I think I'm loving this person, but yet they don't have it. And the other person is looking for sort of a parent to meet these needs that they didn't get in childhood. And they pick someone that never got it either. And they're like, oh, well, you don't have it to offer me either. And learning to give it to yourself is like what this is all about, which is what I hear you saying is all about speaking with the heart. It's about learning to access it.
Well, and it is so important that, yes, of course, I'm a widow and I don't have a partner, so I don't get to have that lovely side right now, hopefully, but not right now. But there's the place of recognizing Well, why would that be your responsibility anyway? What kind of position am I putting myself in if I'm completely dependent upon you to make me feel loved or for you to make me feel beautiful or even safe? There's no guarantee you're going to stay. And so what am I doing to really be mindful of me? But a lot of women come to me and they were raised in very much the traditional format, and the husband either leaves or the husband dies and they don't know how to take care of themselves. And now they have kids in the house and they don't understand finances and they don't have a job and they never learned it. And their viewpoint is, well, I'll just rely on my husband. Doesn't work well right now. And there's also a place of, do you feel capable and confident within yourself? And as a human, I think that's important. Yes, I'll do partnership, but also if something were to happen, I'm not completely reliant upon you for me to be okay. If that's the case, then I'm allowing you to delineate who I am. I'm letting you define me. Oh my gosh, that's dangerous. And no one should do that but you and your internal truth. This is your life, and it's important to protect that, because though we would want a relationship to go on forever, it doesn't always. And sometimes it's just not healthy for you to stay. And for anybody who has gone through abuse, you got to be really careful there, because on one level, you're used to it and you can tolerate it and you can endure it because you have, but that doesn't mean that that's what's best for you. There's a place of deciding, do you take care of yourself in situations? I heard a podcast with Matthew Hussey, and I like a lot of what he does. And he was talking to a woman whose husband had cheated on her. And she said to him, I just don't know if I'll ever trust him again. And he literally responded with, you won't. And as a therapist, I went, don't say that. Oh my gosh. But he continued and he said, why would you? He's already proven he's not trustworthy. So there's a part that he could always be untrustworthy again. So we're not going to make you have to try to make somebody who feels unsafe feel safe. And my heart and my brain are like, okay, I'm getting closer. Keep going, keep going. And he said, we're going to hope he is. You guys are going to work on your relationship for him to see you differently, to do things differently, so you experience that differently, that now he has a better knowingness, and you will always take care of yourself. So if at some point you find out he is not, you take care of you. You don't leave yourself dependent upon him to decide if he's willing to care for your heart going forward. And it took me to a really interesting talk within myself about trust, because there's a wobble in it, which is, I can know for me, but I can't ever know for you. And I can know from my experience with you to this moment, but you could also throw that away in 2 seconds. And that isn't something that we talk about. And I think it's because we don't want to, because it's scary, but I think we need to. What are you doing within yourself, or what are you doing within your relationship to really keep that present? Because that's vital for your relationship. Do you really nurture the protection within your relationship? So one of the exercises I give my clients is every single day to say, is there any place that I have missed you today? Or is there any place where you feel like I haven't honored you? People go, oh, I don't want to ask that. I'm like, that's the reason you ask that. Because there probably is. And wouldn't you want to know that so you could come through? So number one, you can always say, this day forward, I am asking my partner to help me clear up any place where they haven't really felt loved. Beautiful. And then I ask every day to ask them, and where did you feel the most loved by me? Where did you feel the most connected? Can we grow that a little bit more right now? If you do that every single day, oh my gosh, your relationship is so protected, unless somebody's lying. And if somebody's lying, there's not much you can do anyway. But if you ask your partner or your child or your boss or your best friend, is there any place that I've missed you? Please, because I don't want to. And that's the bridge of connection with compassion that my book is all about. And to me, that is why we are here. How can I let myself care about you and want us to be as good as we can be together? And so I give that to all my couples, and they come in the next week and I can take one look at them and I can know if they've done it or not. And I tell them, like, are you psychic? I'm really good energetically. There's a shift that happens when every single day you're coming through for your partner. There's also something incredibly profound to never again be able to say at the end of a day, I didn't know if I loved you well today, or I didn't know if you received love. Think about it. If you do that every single day, you're going to know your partner felt love from you. You're not going to have that same argument. You don't love me. You don't care about me. Can't have those anymore. Can't have those. This hurt right now. I don't like this in this moment. It takes us to today being really vital, which of course it is, because that's all there is. But it also doesn't let it pass by. And it takes 2 seconds. And you know what'll happen most times? The person will say, just asking me that was all that I needed. Okay. Can I have a hug? Yeah. It's so simple. It's so simple.
The 2 questions, write them down. How much do you think, I think just doing marriage work, you and I for so long, attachment wounds are at the heart of so many things. So the bond between the mother and the child, the connection, the emotional connection, the physical connection. I mean, all of that. And I definitely think affairs are rooted in attachment wounds. And I think communication issues are rooted in attachment wounds.
100%. And that's why it's in my book. Chapter on attachment. I have a whole chapter on love languages. And there's so many different things you could do. EFT, narrative, there's so many different things you could do, but attachment is key. And so when I was studying it, what really blew my mind is when I take the test, I'm secure. And yet as soon as I took the test, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm anxious. Like, I know I'm anxious. And so when I took the test and was looking through it, I was kind of embarrassed. I was embarrassed that deep down inside, I know I come from anxious. And then the most beautiful thing happened. I had an incredible amount of compassion for myself. And I said, my mom was a paranoid schizophrenic alcoholic who killed herself. You were molested and then disowned at 17. Dear Lord, woman, you get a lot of reasons to be anxious. But then something blessed happened to me. When you see somebody who is detached and avoidant, our thought process is, what's wrong with them? Why are they so cold? Why don't they like people? And from studying attachment, I went, oh, wow, they weren't loved. They don't know the value of the benefit of a relationship, and they might not ever choose to have that because they haven't experienced that. And I am imposing my anxious, needy, people pleaser, enmeshedness upon this person who's like lived in a playpen and took care of themselves, and by the age of 12 probably had like $100,000 in the bank, was about to buy a house, and I'm like, do you like me? Do you like me? Do you like me? And then I also looked to the other and I thought the person who's needy, clingy, grabbing, just needing attention, I thought that poor little kid wasn't loved. So when you see that, then you can help yourself with your own. You can understand yours more so, but it also gives you this beautiful way to work with others. And then when the challenges come up, they make more sense to you. The person who's more detached, you know what they're going to do. They're going to shut down. They're going to disappear. They're going to need some days to themselves because that's how they process. Anxious, we're going to be texting nonstop and calling nonstop and like, what did I do? What did I do? Like, there's the place of knowing your partner or yourself, both, to learn how to walk through that. And I have it in my book because I think it's a really important conversation to have. What do you need? And it's in there. What do you need when you're stressed? What do you need when you're scared? What do you need when you're angry? They're not going to necessarily be the same. And learning how to respect another in the way that they walk in this world is, I'm going to say it, sounds weird coming out of my head, but it is as important in helping them learn how to love you in the way that you need, because you're honoring them then. And you were drawn to this person for some aspects of who they are. And then there's going to be some aspects of who they aren't that you're going to have to deal with. Then there's going to be some aspects of who they are that you're going to have to deal with too. But if you can recognize what they come from, it makes so much more sense. I remember I was having tea with my mother-in-law and my daughter a couple years after my husband had passed. And Sienna, my daughter, asked her, when was the time that you felt the most comfortable being a mom and with your kids? And she responded, never. And I couldn't understand. So we just asked more questions. And she said something really profound. She said, I had to be perfect. So I was continually concerned with making certain that everything was just fine so that I could be perfect. That brought a lot of clarity because honesty was a problem for my late husband. And I can see where that was. We need to look a particular way. It must all be fine. we're not going to really deal with where it's messy or where it's fractured. And I didn't have that till after he passed, but it really helped me recognize some of these habits and patterns that he had that were problematic for our marriage, but I didn't see it from that lens. And so when you do, it can help you tremendously. You can recognize what's going on. This is getting tense. Are you feeling overwhelmed? Do you need this to slow down? Do you need some security right now? Do you need more stability? Do you need some time to process this on your own? Do you not know what you want and you're feeling a little reckless? Could you leave the car keys and the credit card? I mean, there's places of knowing, like, what do you do when you kind of go off your wheels? And how can I help you with that? Attachment's so important. And if you think about it, we come into the world, there's some test tubes, but for the most part, an egg and a sperm coming together in connection. And that becomes the union. And then that becomes the embryo. And it's within the placenta, tied together with the umbilical cord, all nutrients, nourishment, everything coming from mama. And then we come out into the world and it's cut, and we're unbelievably dependent upon someone to feed us and take care of us, probably largely mom, but maybe not. Eventually, we come to the place where we can care for ourselves. And even in just thinking about that, what an amazing process. What an amazing process. Ron Doss shared something that I thought was fascinating. He said that children have to believe they're wrong, because if a child can look at mom and dad and say mom and dad are unsafe, then the world doesn't feel safe to them. And it's really hard for a child to exist feeling the world around them is not safe. So they make it that they are wrong. And then at some point, we are wise enough to say, no, what you did was jacked. I didn't deserve that. And that's when we realize we are to keep ourselves safe and to bring our safety into the world. I think where so many of us struggle is we work on trying to feel safe within ourselves, and then we step into the world and kind of go, and we let go of taking care of ourselves. I needed to look up the word vulnerability a couple weeks ago, and I didn't know why, because I know what it means, so I thought, but I looked it up, and it basically said to step into a situation that you know that is going to be harmful for you. And I went, dear God, why would anybody be vulnerable?
Yes.
It's a horrible thing. And I thought, okay, let me take this, because I think a lot of people look at vulnerability that way. Let me open up my heart and please don't stab me. So I thought, okay, let's change this. I'll come to you open and I'll say, I am open and I'd love to step in more if you can come to me open as well. And if you say no, then I say, okay, thank you for letting me know. Let me know when you are, and then I'll step back in. But we don't do that. We just say, here's my heart. I'm jumping off a cliff. Please don't kill me. And that is so foolish. And it's why we're so scared. We can change the way we experience intimacy to lessen that fear in that place of, okay, I'm going to open up a little bit more to you. And now I'm going to open up a little bit more to you. And to honor that, we dishonor our truth from, I don't know how early on, but back being a child. And then we don't know how to take care of ourselves. I think a lot of us, or I'll include myself in here, feel like really big, really somewhat successful 3 and 5-year-olds, like wishing somebody else would tell us what to do or give us the game plan. And I have to remember, like, little 3-year-old Heather's still here. And she at times is still really scared. And that's okay. So to me, it starts with really looking at what has your life been, and to take a deep breath and say, wow, like I've been through a lot. And I really want to take good care of me going forward. I want to stop beating myself up. I'm not going to shame myself anymore. I'm not going to belittle myself anymore. I had an amazing experience. I put on a dress that I hadn't worn for a while, a couple years, and I put it on and it looked a little tight on my thighs. And so the thought that was popping into my head was, oh my God, your thighs are so fat. But I stopped myself before it came out. And I said, thank you, dress. Oh my goodness, thank you. You've just shared a truth with me. I am to go to the gym, hang you in the back of my closet. And when I've gone to the gym enough times, I'm going to put you back on. And I realized, oh, this is lovely. I can take a truth, use it to help me, and not shame me. Now, was I excited by the fact that the dress looked a little too tight in my thighs? No. Was I proud of myself that I had not been going to the gym and I'd been eating more chocolate? No. But that wasn't my thigh's fault. My thighs didn't ask for any of that. My mouth, okay, different story. So there's the place of really letting yourself look at, how do I use this to bless me? How do I use this to help me? That includes attachment styles. How do I use this knowledge that I have of you? I might not really completely understand it. I might not completely like it, but you need to go off on your own for 5 hours and process. And that helps you feel solid within yourself. And that helps you come back and be able to listen to me. Then I got to deal with that, because it is very important that we do what honors ourselves for our own healing. We are the only one who lives with us always. And we will have the most conversations with ourselves than anybody else our entire lives. So it's important to nurture that and take care of that and hopefully be grateful for that. I don't get to be you. I don't get to have somebody else's life. So how can I make mine as beautiful or as wonderful as I can?
Dr. Heather Browne, laying it down. This is great. Is there anything else we did not cover as a takeaway for today?
Oh, gosh. Yes, like hours and hours. But I think mostly be gentle with you. Like, it's confusing being a human being. It just is. And a mom or a husband or a son or a daughter, or just you. It's just hard being you. And it's hard being you, being in this world of all these people who do all these things. And so there's the place of be gracious with you. Be on top of your stuff to help yourself grow and improve, but be gracious with you. And as much as possible, like, be your best friend. People will reach out to me and they say, I just need to come in for my Heather fix. And I know what they mean, because that's something that I think I've gotten pretty good at, is loving my experience as much as possible. And it's just easier to deal with the crud that happens when you do. So take really good care of you and honor you and nurture you and uplift you and protect you and share yourself in any way you're willing to share yourself. And if you do it from a place of love, amazing, 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 amazing things are going to happen, because everything is better with love. And every place has been hurt or wasn't enough. So that means for sure we're to bring more for ourselves and for everybody else, because this world needs so much love. We all do.
Dr. Heather Browne, thank you so much. Where can people find you and your new book, Speaking with the Heart? Where can they find the book and you?
Go to my website, The Hub of Heathers. So www.DRHEATHERBROWNE.com. Everything's there. Social media, the book. Also, you can go to Amazon and Barnes & Noble. It will be out, we're hoping the 23rd, 24th, 25th, sometime in that, for whenever this airs. But yeah, if you go to my website, you'll find everything. My workshops, my freebies. So just go there.
Thank you for sharing your heart, your love, and your energy. Grateful for you.
Oh, I'm so grateful for you, love. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on the Close the Chapter podcast. I'm so excited for your book. Go grab it. Thank you so much for listening to the Close the Chapter podcast. My hope is that you took home some actionable steps, along with motivation, inspiration, and hope for making sustainable change in your life. If you enjoyed this episode, click the subscribe button to be sure to get the updated episodes every week, and share with a friend or a family member. For more information about how to get connected, visit Kristen, KRISTEN, Boyce, BOICE.com. Thanks, and have a great day.